In this video, we'll be reviewing clause types and conjunctions. Specifically, we'll cover independent and dependent clauses and their subcategories, how they interact within sentences, and the main types of conjunctions: coordinating, subordinating, and correlative. Let's get right into it. A clause is a group of words that contains both a subject and a verb, but isn't necessarily a sentence. There are two main types of clauses: independent and dependent. Under dependent clauses, we have noun clauses, adjective clauses, and adverb clauses. Let's give each of these a closer look, starting with independent clauses. An independent clause is a group of words that can stand alone as a complete sentence. It has both a subject and a verb, which, as we've discussed in previous videos, are necessary to form a sentence, and it expresses a complete thought. An example of a simple independent clause would be, "Soup is delicious." This sentence has a subject, soup, a verb, is, and expresses a complete thought. We don't need any more information to understand what's being said. An independent clause can also be more complex. For example, the dog barked loudly and chased its tail. Here, we still have one subject, dog, but now we have two verbs, barked and chased. Another example would be, George and Natalie went on a walk. This time we only have one verb, went, but now we have two subjects, George and Natalie. So what does it mean exactly when we say an independent clause expresses a complete thought? This brings us to our next clause type, the dependent clause. A dependent clause also has a subject and verb, but it still lacks meaning. It doesn't express a complete thought. For example, she laughed because. Here we have a subject, she, and a verb, laughed, but our sentence still lacks meaning. It has the word because, indicating to us that we're going to be told why she's laughing, but the sentence never actually tells us why, and the reader is left without information. Other examples are, although he was tired, or when I finish the book. Although he was tired, what? When I finish the book, what? The sentences don't tell us. Dependent clauses, like their name implies, depend on something, an independent clause. Let's use our sentences as examples. She laughed because he told a joke. He told a joke is an independent clause and can stand on its own as a sentence. For further examples, we could finish our remaining sentences with, although he was tired, he finished his work, or when I finish the book, I will watch the movie. Once again, we see that he finished his work and I will watch the movie are independent clauses. As we've stated, there are three main types of dependent clauses: noun clauses, adjective clauses, and adverb clauses. Let's take a closer look at each of these. Noun clauses occur when the entire clause functions as a noun. For example, in the sentence, she knows how to bake is a noun clause. A tip for identifying noun clauses is to try and replace the noun clause with a pronoun. For example, we could replace the noun phrase how to bake with the pronoun him, giving us she knows him. If the sentence is still grammatically correct after replacing the clause with a pronoun, as it is here, we've successfully located the noun clause. Noun clauses typically start with the words that, who, what, where, when, why, or how. They can also occur at the beginning of the sentence. For example, what she said surprised him. Here, too, we can replace the noun clause what she said with a pronoun. She surprised him. Another example would be, he explained why he was late. Replacing the clause why he was late with a pronoun, we'd have he explained it, which we can see is grammatically correct. Next, we have adjective clauses, also known as relative clauses. Just like adjectives describe nouns, adjective clauses provide us with more information about nouns in a sentence. For example, in the sentence, the shirt that I borrowed fits nicely, the independent clause is, the shirt fits nicely. The phrase that I borrowed is inserted into the clause to give us more information about the shirt. Adjective clauses start with a relative pronoun like who, whom, which, that, or whose. We'll give a quick rundown of these here, but make sure to check out our video on pronouns for a deeper explanation. In short, who and whom are used to start relative clauses relating to people. For example, the teacher who helped me is very kind. Again, we see the independent clause, the teacher is very kind, and the adjective clause, who helped me, describing the noun teacher. Which and that are used for objects and animals. For example, the guitar that he is playing is from Brazil. We have the independent clause, the guitar is from Brazil, and the adjective clause, that he is playing, describing the guitar. And finally, whose is used for both people and things and indicates possession. For example, this is the book whose page I tore. Again, we see the independent clause, this is the book, with the adjective clause, whose page I tore, describing the book. Again, for a deeper look at when to use who versus whom or that versus which, check out our video on pronouns. And lastly, we have adverb clauses. Just like the name suggests, adverb clauses function like adverbs in a sentence. That is to say, they qualify the meaning of verbs, adjectives, other adverbs, and clauses. They answer questions like when, where, why, and how. For example, I'll call you when I get home. When I get home answers the question of when in the context of I'll call you. In the sentence, I took a break because I was tired answers the question of why I took a break. And in he speaks as if he knows everything answers the question of how he speaks. Now that we've covered the types of clauses, let's take a look at conjunctions. Conjunctions are words that connect clauses, phrases, or words in a sentence. They help us combine ideas and show how those ideas are related. There are three main types of conjunctions: coordinating conjunctions, subordinating conjunctions, and correlative conjunctions. Let's break these down one by one, starting with coordinating conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions join two independent clauses or words that are of equal importance in a sentence. You can remember them by using the acronym FANBOYS: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Let's give an example for each conjunction. The woman woke up early, for she had a lot to get done. She got dressed, ate breakfast, and washed the dishes. She didn't take a break, nor did she slack off. She wanted to take a nap, but she knew she had to work. She had to work fast, or it would never get done. She was getting tired, yet she didn't give up. She finished all her tasks, so she finally took a well-earned rest. Let's now go through each conjunction one by one, taking a closer look at each one's specific function. For functions like because, and has the second clause explain the first. In our sentence, she got up early because she had a lot to get done. And connects two similar clauses. In our sentence, getting dressed, eating breakfast, and washing the dishes all share the similarity of things she's doing to get ready in the morning. Nor works to join two negative clauses. Here we see it connecting two things she didn't do, take a break or slack off. But works to negate what was said previously. Here, although she wanted to take a nap, we see that negated in the second clause. She didn't because she knew she had to work. Or gives the choice between two possibilities. Here, she needs to choose between working fast or the work never getting done. Yet shows a contrast between the first and second clause and functions similarly to but. Here, although she was getting tired, she didn't give up. And finally, so explains a result. The result of her finishing her tasks was being able to take a well-earned rest. Note that when a coordinating conjunction joins two independent clauses, we usually place a comma before it. Next, we have subordinating conjunctions. In contrast to coordinating conjunctions, subordinating conjunctions join a dependent clause to an independent clause. These conjunctions show the relationship between the two clauses, indicating cause, condition, contrast, time, and more. Some common subordinating conjunctions include because, although, if, when, and while. Let's take a look at a few examples. I stayed inside because it was snowing. The subordinating conjunction because shows the reason for staying inside. Although the plot bored her, she kept reading. Here, although introduces a contrast between the two clauses. On the one hand, she was bored by the plot, but on the other hand, she kept reading regardless. If it rains tomorrow, we'll cancel the picnic. The conjunction if presents the condition for why the picnic might be cancelled. When I was young, I loved to play outside. When tells us the time frame for the action in the independent clause, the speaker playing outside. She studied while he cooked. The conjunction while shows two actions happening simultaneously, the studying and the cooking. When a subordinating conjunction is used, the order of the clauses can be swapped and the meaning of the sentence remains the same. For example, we could say, I stayed inside because it was snowing, or because it was snowing, I stayed inside. Note that when the subordinating conjunction begins the sentence, we separate the two clauses with a comma. When it's in the middle of the sentence, no comma is used. And lastly, we have correlative conjunctions. Correlative conjunctions work in pairs, linking two equal elements in a sentence. These pairs of conjunctions include either or, neither nor, both and, not only but also, and whether or. Let's take a look at some examples. You can either have the cake or the pie. Using either or, both options are presented as equal possibilities. Neither the teacher nor the student was happy. Using neither nor, both parts are linked in a negative context. She is both smart and hardworking. Both and shows that both qualities apply to the subject. Not only did he win the race, but he also set a new record. Not only, but also emphasizes the fact that he accomplished two impressive things, not just one. Whether we go to the zoo or the aquarium, it'll be expensive. In this example, whether or introduces two alternatives, but implies the outcome will be the same regardless. And that wraps up our review on clause types and conjunctions. We've covered independent and dependent clauses and their subcategories, and explained how they interact within sentences by introducing the three types of conjunctions: coordinating, subordinating, and correlative. Make sure to watch the other videos in the series for a full grammar review and keep practicing.